Tender Talk Radio. You're in to all things music.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
Shake my body, make a play. I can swing you anyway.
Hey guys, it's Jackie Bertoni. Jackie's Groove brought to you by Intertalk Radio Network, your connection to all things music. It's October 23rd, Monday. And it is number 15 in the series of emerging artists here on Jackie's Groove. And I am proud and privileged to bring to Jackie's Groove this morning, please welcome emerging artist, Thùy Linh.
Hi. Thank you for having me, Jackie. It's such a pleasure.
I want you to relax. I want you just to sit there and follow my lead. And I want you to educate the listeners out there, my fans, your fans worldwide. Let's jump right into it. And let's talk about what inspired you musically growing up as a child?
You know, I grew up with Vietnamese, what I call pop, which is the common, music that you hear on the airwaves and in the home. And, of course, I was moved by, the melody. And then later on, when I knew more about the language, then I was moved by the poetry in the music. So when I discovered jazz, in college at Berkeley, it was a natural connection for me because I listened to all the old classic voices and the standard, with lots of romance in the language. And that was just a natural pull for me. When people ask, why did I pick jazz as especially my Vietnamese friends, they have such great admiration because they say, gosh, why did you pick jazz? It's such a difficult kind of music to sing and perform.
Yeah, man.
And I say, well, maybe I don't really pick jazz. Maybe it picked me in some ways.
Answer this question for me also. Share with the listeners where you were born and where you were raised.
I was born in a little beach town called Nha Trang, in South Vietnam. It's about a 1-hour flight from Saigon, the former South capital of the country. And at the age of 9, my family escaped by boat out of Nha Trang. We landed in the Philippines after 5 days, and then after 10 months there, we were sponsored by Catholic Church in Minnesota.
Really?
So my family's been living in the United States for more than 37 years now.
Oh, you're a native.
So pretty much a native Californian, I would say that my identity is much more strongly American than it is Vietnamese, although my heart has always been what I call, authentically Vietnamese.
Cool.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And you came to us from one of my dear friends, Tu Ho, and that's where you and I got the jam there. I would love to see you two beautiful ladies sharing the stage together, and taking this dichotomy of an Asian look, but belting out contemporary jazz or standard jazz music itself. And with that said, growing up in Vietnam or the Philippines, what was coming through the music, the speakers at your home? What were your parents listening to? What were you forced to listen to, if you were forced at all?
Yeah. Well, up until the time I discovered jazz at Berkeley, I grew up with, like I said, Vietnamese music mostly. Songs by very, famous, pretty much 20th century composers like Sam Duy and Diem Công Phương. all of that was, at home and all around me. Then during the time of my college years, and I discovered other music, like
such as
I would say, not during college, but even when I was 9, living in Minnesota. That was during the 80s. I got exposed to all of the modern, what is it called, modern wave, and all the pop, the solid gold dancers, all of the pop acts of that time.
Exactly.
Kenny Rogers, Marilyn McCoo, all of the top, what I call top 40 types of music.
Exactly.
Of the time. So I got all of that. Some of my idols were, Whitney Houston, Aretha Franklin, Kenny Rogers, Dolly Parton. So you see an amalgamation of genres from different areas, Absolutely. From country to pop, R&B. So pretty much everything.
Twee, if I was to hijack your music player or jump in your car, what am I going to hear on your playlist? Share with the audience.
Well, right now, I'm listening to a lot of international voices and styles as I'm trying to finish my CD. So I don't know the names, but I pretty much just of search Spotify and but a lot of the voices are either singing in, if it's not Latin, salsa or international grooves, like this group who's going to perform at Monterey Jazz Festival this weekend, called Monsieur Perrin, which is a Colombian group that's fusing, the cultural roots with, pop, and basically recreating a very modern, nouveau sound. Yeah. So that's what I envision for my own CD. Yeah.
And let me ask you a question. This is kind of I don't know, I think you've already answered it, but I'm going to ask you this question itself. If you had to choose one genre of music that you were only able to sing, is it what you're doing now in the way of jazz, or is it something else?
I would say that I would probably pick soul or gospel, because I grew up, when my family was first in the United States in the 80s, I was very in love with, Whitney Houston's voice, Aretha Franklin. So when you listen to some of my work now, I think some of my bluesy tunes, I do have that influence from those voices and that genre.
Would you
very soulful?
Would you consider yourself a soprano singer? What would you categorize your voice? Where is it?
Well, I think that I have a very deep voice, deeper than typical for women. Yeah. So.
That's cool. And when you're on stage performing, if it's more of a solo gig, are you playing with a larger band? What is your choice? What's your preference? If money was no object, would you be more comfortable with an orchestra, or with a 5-piece, 4-piece, or just you and a guitar player, or you and a keyboard player? What's your preference?
I think that I would probably go with a smaller band. I'm okay with anything from a duo to, let's say, a quintet, because I think ultimately, no matter what music you sing, the voice still has to be dominant and compelling in telling the story. So if there's too much instrumentation going on with big band, I think you lose something from the story. You lose something from the voice. So I find, that with my audience's kind of, love for and preference for the voice, I also tend to think along those lines. Yeah.
Twee, how often are you performing? Are you performing on a regular basis where people can see you on a regular basis?
Well, recently, for the last 6 months, I've cut down on public gigs because I'm trying desperately to finish my CD. I like to release my new CD this December. So the most I'm doing really is once a week. I have what I call my home base here in San Jose at the Jade Leaf Eatery and Lounge, the venue right in the heart of downtown San Jose, where most of the San Jose Jazz Festival acts have been held, the past few years. And then I just started a jam at another place called the Homestead Bowl and X Bar in Cupertino. That's every 2 weeks. Yes, I'm sorry, Jack, if I can finish. And I also bring my show down to Southern California, to the heart of what I call Little Saigon in Orange County, where the largest Vietnamese community lives outside of our homeland. And I give community down there a show every 4 months. And recently I was invited to launch a weekly Sunday brunch down there. That just started 2 weeks ago. Yeah, so those are my regular gigs right now. And I tell you, it's more than enough.
Now, when you're walking on stage, albeit in a crowd of a small crowd or a larger crowd, do you still find yourselves getting those quintessential butterflies in your stomach, that not nervousness, but that anxiety, that performance anxiety, to know that as soon as the first note drops, then you're fine? Share with us before you walk on stage, what are your preparations? What are you feeling? What gets you motivated to get on stage and sing?
You know what? I think for us singers, and I can speak for other groups as well, as I think we rely on having a full house and active audience who are attentive and responsive to our performance, more so than the instrumentalists, who admit most of the time that they don't care. They can just show up and play with each other and find that connection amongst themselves, and they're happy with that. But I think for our singers, we do need a more captive audience. So, of course, there are always butterflies, before going on the stage for me. And it's turned out to be such that there's a fear and a nervousness from not only my own performance, but also who's out there, and there's the full house. Because, Jackie, as you know, I started my project called Jazz Is You with a mission to bring jazz into the heart of the community. So all of our productions are free to the community. So we only, ask for donations to cover for the professional house band. So with that, there's lots of stress on me, to fill up the house. So there's a lot of the business side that also gives me jitters, because I have to, of course, take care of my guys.
Sure.
So all of that comes to play, and it's kind of doubly, triply stressful for me. Yeah. But I've learned over the last few years that no matter what, if the house has 5 guests or 150 guests, I still need to be at the top of my game. I still need to, look out there into the audience and tell my story in the songs that I do, period. Because there are no second chances.
Now, let me ask you this question. Depending on the venue and the size of the venue, are you more at home with in-ear monitors, or are you more privy to the old standard ambient sound of wedges? What is your preference?
What was the last part of your question?
When you're on stage, do you like to use in-ear monitors, or do you prefer the wedge for a monitor to hear yourself?
Oh, I'm not familiar with the wedge, but I think I just usually have the regular monitor.
Absolutely. And when you're playing with a larger band, what do you want to hear in your mix?
Well, I don't think I've had too many experiences with larger bands, but what I found is that the horns can be quite overbearing. So I always try to make sure that they're a little bit far away from my ears, because that messes up my internal sound cost.
Right.
Yes. But that's always been my number one, concern, and not much else from the other members.
Oh, definitely. It's a concern that needs to be there itself, because again, you don't want people stepping on your vocals at all. And when you're out there and when you're performing in the to the crowds itself, when you're on stage, is there a preference of you standing, or are you more of an artist that sits when you perform?
I usually stand because in terms of technique is much more powerful for me to get my breath when I'm standing, and breathing while I'm singing. And I only sit, like, let's say if I'm doing ballads, when I need the room to be very still, so it's very strategic. And also, maybe if I program my ballads so in between, a few songs when I also need a little rest. Because, Jackie, I have a weak leg from childhood polio. So, so that's one consideration. But thank goodness so far it hasn't been a hindrance at all on my performance. When it's showtime, I'm very high and I could be running around forever and I don't feel it until, the day after. So,
I follow you all the way around, and when I'm following you, I want you to follow me on this right now. We're already coming. You see how fast it goes right now. We're already coming out of segment number 1, and we want to get more in depth to what it takes, what inspires you to write your music, and what it is when your preparations before walking in the studio. How much pre-production you do itself? Are you using live players? Are you a Pro Tools or a Logic slave like I am? Or do you prefer to be into a large studio, depending on, obviously, budget? So with that said, guys, I don't want you to go anywhere. We come back on segment number 2. This is Jackie Bertoni. This is Jackie's Groove, brought to you by the Talk Radio Network. Be into all things music. And my emerging artist today, Monday, is Twee. So, guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back to the short message. So much more in store. Don't go anywhere.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
The Moyer Entertainment Group, in conjunction with Daddario, Radio Airplay, and Looploft, is keeping music in our local schools and presenting local talent to the world through the Temecula Valley Music Awards. Submissions for entry into the TVMA 2017 season are now open in all genres, including a youth category for artists under 18 for the October 7th Star-Studded Awards Show, where 100% of the proceeds go towards supporting local music education in the Temecula Valley. Details, tvmawards.org.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on intertalkradio.com.
Todd Zuckerman from the rock band Styx, and you're listening to my pal Jackie Bertoni on Jackie's Groove. Groove on, motherfuckers.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
everybody. Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, brought to you by Intertalk Radio Network. And that song is a standard called Bésame Mucho by my in-studio guest, Miss Thùy Linh. Guys, welcome back. Thùy, welcome back, girl. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
What was your inspiration to be singing such a classic like Bésame Mucho?
Well, the majority of my fans and audience are Vietnamese Americans here in California.
Right.
And one way that I draw people into jazz and to introduce people who are green to jazz is I deliberately pick very familiar and common and very popular songs like this one, Bésame Mucho, and I sing them bilingually. Yes. So there are a few songs that I do that are done in Vietnamese and English, just as a way to draw people into jazz and familiarize people to jazz.
Now, and Thùy, when we left on the last segment, I asked you about preparation, and you're going into the studio itself, covering your own music, of course. But when you go in, predicated upon budget, we all know that's a very, very important factor. But when you walk in, are you using live musicians? Share with us.
Yes. So my first CD in 2012 was recorded live, and this new CD that will be released in December will also be using live musicians. Yeah. I've already finished one round of recordings in Southern California, in Orange County, and now I'm putting the final touches on the song.
Now, when you go into a studio and when you're choosing a musician, a bassist, a guitarist, a keyboardist, saxophonist, and so on, other than their ability to play, but what is Thùy looking for in that musician? In the way of improvisation, in the way of reading, does that person have to read? Is that a prerequisite to be in the studio with you? What is your process in choosing the musician?
Yes, it's a combination of things. I think one is a musician who's proficient in knowing standards and classics, as well as learning originals, like my work, and who can breathe, new air into the song. That's one thing. And the second, I think, consideration is also their rapport with me and how well we work, just like in any other relationship, Now, the musician may not maybe be what I call grade A+ level, but we have a rapport, and he or she understands what I'm trying to do with the song and can work with me, then I'm okay with that. Because I find that, you always have to have the best musician, to have the final product. Because sometimes, you may have the most sought after musician in the studio, but if they're a tyrant with you and they refuse to listen to you and your song and your story, then it just doesn't flow, and the end product is not so good, period.
And Thùy, let me ask you this question. As I'm writing these notes down right now, you being a student of Berkeley, only the who's who comes out of that school. And when you come out of that school, you are so in tune to what music is all about. Now, with that knowledge that you've garnered from your education and from your studies, when you are in the studio and when you are either recording your own music or music, if you're going to be covering any music, how difficult are you, Thùy, as a producer, as a leader, or are you pretty much a very kicked back, relaxed person in the studio? Be honest with us.
No, Jackie. I'm pretty intense, and I run a very tight ship. So I know that some of my guys have felt, a little bit under the gun especially when we're in the studio. Yeah. And I think that in general, from me, is the same with my shows and everything, because I need to run a tight ship because I am taking care of a zillion things in addition to singing and delivering a superb, performance. So I have to MC. I have to round up the cats. I have to fill up my house and take care of all the PR and the business end, of each show. Yeah, so there is very little room for mistake or glitches, okay? So a lot of times, so I feel that the musicians who work with me need to see and need to understand my mission, and in a sense, lend a helping hand if they can, at whatever level. I would never refuse help. But they need to understand the mission of my project and what I'm doing so that they know and understand my kind of rigorous demands, when it comes to performing anywhere, in the studio or on the stage. Yeah. Because, I had a musician on my stage recently who basically, was questioning me about, why are we doing this? Because I usually do like a demo, what I call a demo. I use one familiar songs like Fly Me to the Moon, and I perform, each 8 measures, in a different groove, for my audiences. And I speak in between, them, and to kind of explain all the 3 main concepts, of jazz, right? Improvisation, tempo, etc. And, so this one musician was just like on the stage with me and said, what are you doing? Why are we doing this? Too much talking, And I couldn't help but laugh. I said, you should have known this, before getting on my stage. Yeah, exactly. So don't question me. I know what I'm doing, and you need to be on top of it with me. Yeah.
And I'm curious, when you brought up a good point right there itself, just being in charge at all, because, when you are forthright as a woman, then they put the moniker of, well, that girl was a bitch. And not understanding the fact that she is not a bitch, she is a person that's in charge. It's her name on the marquee, not yours. And whatever she says, if she wants you to stand on your head upside down, you do it on cue. And that's the main thing. That's called being a side person, being a side man or a side woman. And I'm going to ask you a question here, and there's a reason for my question. Are your mother and father still with us?
Yes, they are, Jackie. Thank goodness. Yeah.
So that question, I can ask it either 2 or 4. Is mom and dad, do they understand what you're doing? Are they supportive of what you're doing?
Well, they are now, Jackie. But honestly, they were very afraid for me when I decided to go pro and when I created this project back in 2012. Of course, I discovered my art very late, much later in life. I mean, all my life I was pretty much in school. I have a master's degree in international relations, and was working before deciding to go pro with my music. But I've always been singing all my life, you see. So the switch, I think, really unsettled them. And, of course, there was a big level of kind of insecurity, not knowing if this is going to take off, how this is going to work out for me financially and otherwise. And at the time I was also going through a divorce. So a lot of, unsettled factors really scared them.
Sure.
But I think since they've seen the overwhelming support, and love of my project, of my singing, and offerings to the community, they are now also believers themselves because they see that I can do it and that the community is in need of the programs that I offer to them, and our community needs an introduction to this new musical sound and knowledge of this great American art form. So now it's not an issue anymore. I mean, they come to all of my shows, when I'm in Southern California. Mom helps me, promote the show for everything from, distributing flyers to posting and talking it up to her network of friends. Yeah.
I love it. And I asked that question because, I ask this with all the people. I don't care if it's emerging artists or if it's a person who's already been established in the industry because, as I said, the music business is not changing on a yearly basis anymore. It's changing on a monthly basis. And some people feel that it's a good change. Some people don't like it at all. And so with that said, I'm going to ask you as an emerging artist, do you, Twee, understand the music business of today? Are you optimistic or are you pessimistic? Share with us.
Well, you know, I know that for one, people don't buy CDs anymore, and yet we musicians still produce CDs because it's our pretty much glorified business card, as my co-producer says, Hugo Weinzinger. And I understand that. We have to continue, and we have to find a stage for our art. So there's no way around it. And if, you know, someday in the future, there's not going to be any of that anymore, CDs and whatever, I think we have to reinvent ourselves and find some other way to get in front of the audience, get our art out there. So there's no time, to tell you the truth, Jackie. In my life, there's no time to question what's going on now or to doubt what's going on. I think I'm really too busy just trying to focus on perfecting my art and working on my art.
You're staying in your lane, girl. You're keeping laser focus on that, because this is where I love the dichotomy here. You know, we mentioned a little while ago my dear friend, or who I love like my sister, Tu Ho. But the fact is, when I met Tu, she was doing a lot of correspondence with us at the NAMM show, doing a lot of correspondence with our liaison, if you will, up in the Northern California area for Al Di Meola at a great club called Yoshi's. But when I found out, as I got to know her and got to be more of a sister-like and a brother-like situation, to find out that Tu Ho is actually Dr. Tu Ho, a pediatric physician. And I think that is very, very important today, because we all should wear two different hats, or maybe even three if we can handle it. We have to have something to quintessentially fall back onto. In the event that, and not using a defeatist attitude because you're talking to a musician, but let's just go ahead and put the cart in front of us. If this was not successful to Twee, what would you be doing today? What would you find yourself in to be making a living, to go forward in life? What do you see yourself doing other than music?
Well, Jackie, I started out in the nonprofit world. So if I'm going to fold with my music, then I will return to that nonprofit community world. So I don't think there will be a break in anything for me. It feels as natural as breathing or swimming. So I don't worry about that anymore, Jackie. And in my head right now, because I feel like I've wasted most of my life doing something that I was not meant to do. And now that I've found my calling in music, there is no turning back. So the only way that it's going to end is when I'm in my grave. That's the bottom line. And, you know, I have weak legs from childhood polio. So in terms of energy and ability, I'm getting weaker every day as we speak, you know, just physically. My mind is racing faster than my body can keep up with. So, yes, so for as long as I can still produce, can still create, can still make people happy around me, I will continue on that route. There's no reason why I shouldn't. And I feel like I'm making up for lost time. So I'm always racing against the clock to do everything I can possibly can before my body gives out on me. And that's how I've always lived my life.
Let me ask you this question, girl. With that said, and this is a question that you really have to, you know, the needle in the haystack answer. But think about this for a second. Do you feel that your intelligence, I'm talking to you right now, I can tell that you're a very educated woman. Do you feel that your intelligence, your deep knowledge, helps you write or holds you back when writing music?
Oh, of course, it's all helped me, Jackie. I mean, when I meet Vietnamese fans and media people who interview me, they always ask, you know, why did you give up everything, your master's degree, your education, and your ability to make more money with your degrees, and now suffer a life of a pauper, basically, as a musician, and give up everything? And I say, well, you know, I haven't really given up everything. Everything I've done in my life up to date is now helping me with my music life. Nothing is wasted. my experience, in community relations, PR, fundraising, events planning, communication, all of that is coming together now in my music calling. So it's all happening as it should be. And the knowledge. I'm sorry. Let me finish. So the knowledge that I've accrued, over the years with my education and with life, certainly defines my music. Especially the originals, whose melodies just came very naturally to me, and most of them on a first take. You know what? Again, we have telepathy here, because I was going to ask you, and I don't want to get too depth because we're going out of the second segment. You see how fast this time goes, but I love that fact when you said that first take. I think when you barrel too much into it and you do take over take, it makes it stale. It takes the vibe away from that. It actually can hamper the groove also. So when we get back, I want to talk about that on segment number 3 itself. When you say one take itself, after you do the one take and you hear yourself later on, do you ever catch yourself going, maybe a second take would have been better? Don't answer that now, but we're going to talk about that when we come back on segment number 3. I hope you're having a good time, girl, because you are now part. You're giving me really tough questions. Yeah, that's what it's all about, and that's the whole idea about the emerging situation. Because I've got more questions I want to ask you with regards to what you're feeling about the music business and the music of today. So, with that said, segment number 3 around the corner. This is Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, brought to you by Talk Radio Network. You're into all things music, and my in-studio guest today, the lovely and talented Thùy Linh. So don't go anywhere, guys. We're right back. Short message. Don't.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear, host of Sound Experience here on Intertalk Radio. And Source Connect by Source Element is the essential tool that we use to link between my studio in Austin, Texas, and the WS radio station in San Diego. Now, with Source Connect, not only can we communicate in real time and with HD audio, but it's synced up and is of a high enough quality that I can use it for real-time ADR work, remote recording, and overdubbing, and it even allows me to remotely control a DAW. Source Connect by Source Element. Affordable, high-quality audio and video connection over the internet for all of your production needs.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on intertalkradio.com.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Hi, this is Michael McDonald, and you're listening to my good buddy Jackie Bertoni on Jackie's Groove.
Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
If I only had words, I would say all the beautiful things that I see when you're with me. Oh, my Gingy.
everybody. Welcome back to Jackie's Groove. Segment number 3. It is blowing by faster than I want to believe it is. And guess what? We're brought to you by the Intertalk Radio Network. You're into all things music. And also, guys, do yourselves a favor. Please do us a favor. When you can't listen to Jackie's Groove or the plethora of shows that we have on the network at intertalkradio.com, please do yourselves a favor and go to iTunes or Google and download our easy-to-use and easy-to-navigate application. 2 words, first being Intertalk, second being radio, so you can take Jackie's Groove and the plethora of shows with you on the road when you can't listen live. But we are live today with my in-studio guest, a beautiful girl. I mean, an amazing vocalist. She's inspiring me right now, as all my emerging artists do, to let me know there's still, you can teach an old dog a new trick. But the fact of the matter is, she is emerging, man. So this whole segment's going to be about how we are going to put her best foot forward, how people can follow Thùy Linh. So with that said, welcome back to the show. You know, we are very proud. I'm very proud of my team because they put up with the rash of crap for me. The days I'm not in a good mood and the days that I am a diva, if you will. I'm sure they'll all agree on the studio. And there's times where I like to make everybody laugh and keep everybody as a family because these guys are my family. And the person I'm going to be talking to and talking about is the CEO of this entertainment network. His name is Florentino Buenaventura. He is my brother. He takes care of it all, and he's responsible for Emerging Mondays, and he's responsible for Ho for being the girl that she is. So with that said, Twee, say hi to Florentino. Florentino, say hi to this beautiful young lady.
Hello, Twee.
Hi, Florentino.
How you doing?
How are you?
I'm well. I'm just enjoying the show, listening to all these, great stories of, going and sacrificing so that you can do what you believe you're called to do. We're all kind of familiar with that around here, as as in this industry.
Oh, thank you.
And the music business in general is not necessarily, quite the lucrative industry that it once was, but we feel that it'll be coming back. And of course, our sister too. We've actually, me and the CEO. That's how this whole thing got started. Was we wanted to help our band. We had a band when she was here in San Diego to get jump started. So we figured we'll do a podcast / radio show, and that will open up some doors for us. And lo and behold, it opened up a whole radio network. And
oh, nice.
Two's obviously over in San Francisco doing what she does. Where she's taking the jazz world by storm over there, and eventually, hopefully, internationally. So, and with that said, for you, like Jackie mentioned, we really want to find out more about you. How can people learn more about you, and how can we bridge, a cross mix of different cultures and different genre interests, so that people can, not just discover the music, but discover the person behind the music. So tell us your URLs and all that fun stuff.
Yes. Well, first of all, people can find me on Facebook. Type in my name, Thùy Linh, Thuy. Lin is L-I-N-H. And also add a T-L after that, because I have a mark on Twee that may not come up. And usually I have a photo up there of my current look, which is a bald head. So you can't miss it. But behind that title, the Thùy Linh, it says jazz vocalist, composer, and producer. Okay, so when in doubt, you can find me. I'm based in San Jose, and there's a number that you can contact me directly. With my program of Jazz Is You is 669-258-6905. That's 669-258-6905. And I have an email as well, and it's TL. That's short for Thùy Linh. TL Jazzbird, all one word. TLJazzbird@gmail.com. Okay?
That is awesome. I think, Jackie, this is only the second time anybody ever gave out their phone number on this show.
Yeah, I know. Exactly.
I can't remember. It was one of the percussionists that did that. I was like, wow, okay, we're just letting
everybody in. That's called personal, personal customer relations right there. So people are always very surprised, but I say I'm still just a single person outfit. And when people contact me about the program, they get immediate response. I mean, it's like running a business, right, Jackie? I mean, you have to be responsive and respectful of people who show an interest in your product. And this is, my way of being respectful and responsive.
I think that's kind of interesting because what we found in the music industry, it was very one directional. It was the artist basically broadcasting, whether they're at a concert, whether they're on a recorded material or what have you, to their audience. Now with social media, it requires artists to really become more interactive, and it becomes bi-directional. You have to connect with the people who believe and love what you do, and in turn, you have to also know what they do. Obviously, to a certain degree, because sometimes still today we still get the stories of crazy things happening, but I think that's important for people to realize, and I think you've kind of adopted that model really relevantly for your building of your musical career. So kudos to you.
Thank you. I mean, personal contact and communication is still key in any kind of business and relationships we have, don't you think?
Exactly. Well, here's a question for you then. With that said, have you found, you don't have to call out any names, but have you found it kind of backfired on you where you actually had somebody who was maybe a little bit more enamored with you from a personal side and less from an artistic side, and share with us a little bit of the craziness that comes with
you mean
that.
Like fans who hit on me?
Yeah, fans or
whatnot.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for asking that. Well, I do get hit on all the time, okay? And I don't say that with a bragging,
no, you're a beautiful lady.
Attitude or anything. Come with the territory,
yeah.
But I am very clear to people that I am not a fluff, because people see a pretty face on the stage and I'm a musician. They think, I'm easy and pushover or a playgirl, whatever. And I make sure always to make it very clear from the get-go that I'm not that stereotype that they have in their heads, because I'm running a business and I'm an artist, with a legitimate, and respectable product. So I command respect. That's awesome. To command respect, you have to put out a certain aura, a certain image, that you want people to take you seriously.
Yeah, that is awesome.
So from that, it's very clear, and there are no misunderstandings, if you will, And I also don't date musicians.
Smart lady.
Smart.
As we're all musicians over here.
I don't date fellow musicians, and I say up to date if I can help it,
Yeah.
So I've been able to, follow my dictates to date, but tomorrow is another day, right? So.
Yeah. Well, and talking with too about, especially about I'm half Filipino, so even in that, sometimes ladies are not respected like in the Philippines, or even I heard Viet Nam and stuff like that. That was a challenge for her. I know that being that she's a doctor and she's also a singer. It wasn't necessarily, when we first started out, it wasn't necessarily easy for her to kind of blend her cultural world and her her artistic world, because the perception.
Yes.
So it is tough.
That's a very interesting topic that you raised, because, and especially in our Vietnamese community, and I don't say Asian because there's so many of us, so I want to be very specific, with the Vietnamese community, and that we still have, the older generation, like my parents, who are still very traditional, and they don't respect, the arts, right? Not as much as the other, what we call the other 7 careers, right? Or the 7 traditional, well-known top careers, law, engineering, medicine, etc. Mm-hmm. So, in their eyes, we're really nobody, because we don't make any money. So in terms of our worth, we're worth very little, unless somehow we've become just notorious and famous in the international world, then they can legitimize us with their stamp of approval. But before that, we're really nobody. We're just doing what we do for fun, and we're being indulgent, self-indulgent. Okay, so so with that, I think there's not very much respect given to us, and also because we're a woman, and in this loosey-goosey world of music, we're not taken seriously. You're right. And for me, when I deal with Vietnamese in general, it's interesting. A lot of times people would be totally impressed when I bring out my master's degree, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they don't care, and they almost like forget the music part. They say, "Oh, wow, you know, you have masters." So in my case, it adds up, and it helps build my legitimacy with my music because people know that, oh, I know fluff, and I am, you know, educated.
Right. Yeah. So. And, well, like I said, again, kudos to that because it isn't easy, and I think we all, you know, as musicians, I would say from a general sense, until you've actually made money, you know, there's an old adage, when are you going to get a legitimate career? But
right, exactly.
You know, and then again in the Philippines, it's definitely it depends because we've had a few that have become pretty well known. We just had Johnny Valentine on, and you know he comes from a Filipino background, and obviously Bruno Mars is his nephew. So you know we've got a little bit of that, so that's kind of helped out a bit. But in general, it's not perceived of as it's just perceived of as something you do until you go on till you get your real career. And you know when it comes down to it, it is an important element for life. You know, music transforms, and music creates the cultural dynamics that we see internationally.
Right.
The hip hop influence
so like,
that came out of New York.
Yeah, so like I told Jackie earlier, that my parents didn't believe what I was doing until now, these shows in the community, until they saw how happy and just thrilled the audiences were whenever they heard, let's say, Jackfruit or another Vietnamese pop song that I jazzified, Yeah. And people are just thoroughly, amazed and just thrilled and really just on cloud nine because before that, they just never envisioned that it was possible, you see.
I think that's it. I think that's it.
Yes, and now that they see a fellow Vietnamese person, doing it, then they see, wow, yes.
Here real quick.
Yes.
I don't know if I'm still on. I can't barely hear myself, but Twee, I want to jump in here real quick and I want to speak for Florentino and myself. Unlike you, what you just said about, about being taken, seriously because of your beautiful face, your demeanor, and so on. But on the opposite side, Florentino and I do want to be hit on when we're on stage. We do want women to. Of course, I'm making a joke out of that. Of course, we don't want to be bothered. But they were supposed to come on. I want to hear laughter from both of you right now. I actually wrote that down.
Jackie, I think you're a little choppy. That's why I think we're losing a little bit of the internet signal from you, so it's hard to kind of
probably. But nonetheless, so the part I'm making though is the fact that don't let her beautiful looks and her talent sway you. The fact of the matter is she's a woman with substance and a woman that's got education below her belt. And the fact of the matter is we've got to support that. We've got to understand that this is a very difficult business for women in general, let alone women who don't have the immense knowledge that Twee has. And Florentino, I just want to you stay on with me itself, but we talked on this break, but I want to make sure everybody knows one thing, and I want you to educate the people out there. Twee, explain and educate the listeners out there about your song and the background of your original song that you are in the studio right now, and the background of the Vietnamese history behind that song.
Okay, Jackfruit, you mean? Yes, Jackfruit is an original based on a poem of the same title by a Vietnamese, a very well-renowned and controversial Vietnamese poetess from the 18th century, Ho Sung Hương. Her collection of poetry, this particular collection, Spring Essence, was translated by John Balaban, I believe, back in the 90s. And anyways, this collection of poems, they're all very risque, very sexy, very playful. They're basically double entendre types of poems, giving hints at the sexual acts or the sexual desires, And at her time, I mean, all of this was just very hush hush, right? And for her to come up with all these, just very direct and in your face images, through her poems, was just very beyond her time. So this poem, Jackfruit, is just a 4-line poem that my friend and I fleshed out. Actually, this is a friend who's a poet, also of the Bay Area. His name is Bashel. And we just fleshed out the lyrics, and I was the one to infuse the melody into the song. So earlier, Jackie, when you and I were talking about, first takes on a song, and I think the truth is, the first takes happens when, for me as an artist, before I perform the song, I've come to learn and pretty much internalize the song and know the story by heart in order for that melody to come out on a first take. Right. And that's what happened with Jackfruit, and also my other song, Lotus Child, which is also the flagship for my second series, which is to celebrate women and girls who've survived human trafficking, and mostly, in my home country of Vietnam. So,
I'm going to jump in here real quick. We're running out of time here, girl. What I want to do is I want to extend that quintessential olive branch to you. So when the CD comes to its fruition and it starts release date, I hope you would allow us at InterTalk Radio and Jackie's Groove to put our best foot forward to help you promote this. And when it's out and it's available. Oh, thank you so much,
Jackie. Yes, that would be great. Thank you so much for offering. Yeah.
That's the whole vibe itself. We want to do this, and we want to thank you again from the bottom of our hearts being part of this amazing series called Emerging Mondays. Championed by Mr. Florentino Buenaventura. So with that said, girl, thank you so much for your education. Thank you so much for your voice. And thank you for being part of Jackie's Groove. You've now been jumped in. You can't jump away from it now, girl. So with that said, everybody,
I thank you.
Say
thank you and Florentino. Yes, for all of you.
Thank you so much, my love. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, brought to you by Talk Radio Network. Say goodbye to Thùy Linh and say goodbye to Florentino Buenaventura. Peace through music, everybody. God bless.
Bye, Thùy.
Yes, goodbye, Florentino. Take care.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on? Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
You know what's all